break. One voice is not enough. When something's gotta break. One voice is not enough. When something's gotta break. Power's not corrupt. I got no faith in democracy. One voice is not enough. When something's gotta break. Power's not corrupt. I got no faith in democracy. One voice is not enough. When something's gotta break. Power's not corrupt. I got no faith in democracy. No faith in democracy. No faith in democracy. I got no faith in democracy. My mind is a weapon, hands over your head. Live like you need it, breathe in it, repeat it. If I got your attention, this isn't a test. My mind is a weapon, hands up and over your head. Over your head. Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the Lord. Lord, man is putting into my running, and I'm so far from my home. Oh, mama, I can hear you crying, you're so scared and all alone. Hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I don't have very long. They take us up and move us down, they finally found me. The renegade who had it made, retreat for a folly. Never more to go astray, but to be beaten today, the wanted man. Oh, mama, I've been here for the lamb, and I love somebody. Oh, man, she's getting better alive now, it's for sure you see me dead. Dear mama, I can hear you crying, so scared and old. Hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I know.
Live from the Man Cave Studios in South Parkersburg, West Virginia, this is Robert's Report, your leader in combat sports and rock music. It's time to throw down in the Man Cave. So, here's your host, Craig Vegas Robert. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Robert's Report, and I am your host, Craig Vegas Roberts, of course. And I figure most of y'all out there are watching the last 48 seconds of the Buccaneers-Packers game. But it's 31-26 the Buccaneers so far, but we'll see what the outcome of that is. I was thinking that Green Bay was going to win, but I guess we'll see if Tom Brady goes to Super Bowl number 10, I think is what it is now. A few things happened over the weekend in the way of combat sports. So, of course, the big ones were the UFC 257. A couple things come out of that. Of course, Dustin Poirier knocked Conor McGregor out in the second round. So those of you that got your DraftKings boost for Conor McGregor to win like I did, you lost. And Michael Chandler was also kind of knocked out Dan Hooker. So, and he called out a bunch of people, which a bunch of, I mean, you get the chance, you call him out. Of course, you get on the big stage, but I don't think he's going to get anybody in the top 5 yet. Or I would say he's going to fight a couple more people before he gets a title shot. But at least he got up there and got to call him out. He did look very good, I have to say. In the way of rock music, just really too many big things going on right this second, but trap drummer Michael Smith quit the band for reasons of, I guess, they got a little too political for him or something or other, and he decided to call it quits. So that's about it for rock music. Last week, of course, I did have Egypt Central's Joey Walser on, and same as with most rock bands and most bands that they're kind of in COVID mode right now, creating music and mixing albums and that sort of thing. So hopefully we'll get some good music coming out here pretty soon. And that's about it for news right now. We got pretty big show here tonight. Got two world-class jiu-jitsu competitors here. Husband and wife combo, actually. They have a jiu-jitsu, the Holy Grail, out of Victoria, Texas. And they've been, over the last several months, been rubbing elbows with some of the high jiu-jitsu and combat jiu-jitsu competitors. So we're going to get a chance to talk to them. So without further ado here, let me click this over here. And I got to unmute their microphone so they can talk and we can hear them. All right, how's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You said you haven't got any rolling in today yet, but I'm one thing I have noticed with you guys is you pretty much live in the gym. If you're now, Alana, do you? I think I've seen on your Instagram where are you an RN as well?
Yes, I am. I'm a registered nurse. I work in day surgery, and so I work Monday through Friday from 10 to 6.
Oh, okay.
And so I wake up, go to work, and then I just train right after that.
Oh, okay, excellent. So how's it been looking as far as you go on the COVID in Texas? And I mean, that's the big news story these days, of course.
It's always the story, right? Well, I mean, obviously COVID's prevalent in the hospital for sure. I'm fortunate that since I work in day surgery, I'm not really directly around it. Mm-hmm. And so that does give me more of an opportunity to travel and be around other people more so than other people that directly take care of COVID patients. So
that's cool. Yeah, I know our hospital here in Parkersburg, they have 2 floors that are dedicated to COVID patients right now. So, but Jordan, you were just recently in November with EBI. You made it all the way to the semifinal.
Yes, sir. Last year in Cancun, we did the 155s, and the featherweight one I was on in, I want to say, March or April of the same year. So I made semifinals on both of them and scored 4 submissions between the two. So it was a little bit different. It was a little bit different of a rule set with strikes involved on the ground. And, like especially like lining up to it, like one of my goals and dreams in jiu-jitsu has always been to be on the EBI. And when they made the switch to combat, I was kind of like, oh, shit, like, man, that's strikes, what I mean? Something different, and you second guess yourself because, like, for me, I'm not a strong wrestler, but I'm predominantly like a guard player, and you don't know, you don't know if your game's going to hold up, how it's going to happen with strikes, if you never trained it, it's really hard to know, and as far as training, I didn't really switch up how I trained for it, I just trained. I focused more, I guess, on being on top though, and so my mount, all those things developed really well. Mm-hmm. But surprisingly enough, I saw very little. The times we saw strikes mainly was in guys who were not so good at jiu-jitsu, and they just were like defaulted, and they were like, let's throw strikes because like I don't know how to pass guard or I don't know how to sweep somebody, so I'll just throw frivolous strikes from the bottom, But if the guys were really high level, there's not a lot of room for it because when you really think about it, if I raise my hand to throw a strike, I'm not posting, I'm not setting up to pass. there's a lot of things that I'm not doing. I can't defend the underhook and throw with my right with my right hand if I'm passing to the left side, for instance. I'll be giving up an underhook. So that's pretty powerful as far as turning the match over and stuff. And in my matches, man, you saw maybe I count on both hands out of 4 matches how many times I threw a strike or there was strikes really. I got hit a couple times. It wasn't that big of a deal. I think as long as you don't be a little wuss and shell up, I think that as long as you keep it moving, you'll be all right. And like I say, I'm the only guy from Texas to ever get a submission in regulation, and I got 4 of them. So I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm happy for it. But I would have liked to have won, and it's definitely a future goal is to win, EBI and be the champion there. So.
Yeah, my instructor Ryan Carroll. I don't know if you've all been on the same thing with him. He's 135, but
Yeah,
yeah, he did. Let's see, was it last year? I think it was when y'all were in L.A. for the combat jiu-jitsu. I think it was one of the first ones they put on there or something. They were having all kinds of technical things going on. It was just you could tell it was But anyway, that was his first. He's done MMA. He does MMA. He does boxing and all that sort of thing. But sort of like what you say there. I mean, it adds a completely different perspective, and you get a completely different skill set. It's not quite MMA, but it is MMA. It's so. But yeah, he fought or he grappled Brandon Marino.
oh yeah, that guy's tough.
And now he's like at the top of the flyweights in UFC. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's tough because it's like I think that they believed initially that MMA guys were going to come in and dominate against pure jiu-jitsu guys,
yeah,
but it's almost like seeing Conor fight Floyd Mayweather. You're going into somebody's sport where they're a specialist
yeah,
and a really high-level specialist, and yeah, you might be really good at MMA, and of course there's going to be guys that are in MMA that are grapplers that are high-level grapplers and that would dominate in combat jiu-jitsu as well. But for the most part, you see a guy that's extremely skilled at one area, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and combat Jiu-Jitsu, and strikes. While they can be damaging, as long as that person is tough, like is gritty, it's not gonna. The skill gap is gonna be too much if a guy's really high level and the other guy's just like, journeyman or middling level, brown, black belt or whatever hobby. Basically, what I would call a hobbyist black belt, as opposed to a world class black belt in like a submission only scenario.
hmm
And so I think that's why you see a lot of the MMA guys that go into the combat. They either they don't really get that far. The combat champions that you see are guys that are like mainly known on sub only scenes, like John Thor Blank, Dan Martinez. Guys like that are typically the ones that come out at the top end as far as the cream rising to the top.
hmm
So anyway,
Yeah, and I kind of think it's kind of showing up that way in the UFC now. I mean, as far as it's kind of filtering people out that aren't as rounded. It seems now. You've got people that are heavy on the striking or heavy on the grappling and not across the board. And good example of the best known for it, I guess, would be Ronda Rousey. I mean, for look how long she went. Her grappling and judo and all that was world class. She was the best at it.
yeah.
But then she met Holly Holm, that was a kickboxer striking, and Ronda was not a striker whatsoever. And there you
Well,
are.
I think too another aspect of that in Ronda's case, particularly women's MMA at the time. I don't know. I could say about the time now, but at the time it was in its infancy, and it was almost like Hoist Gracie in the early UFCs, where the overall playing field had not reached a level where like one person that was really good at one art couldn't dominate the rest of them. And I think she took advantage of that aspect, and good for her. But yeah, I think it caught up to her for sure with Holly Holm.
Yeah, Alana, what do you think as far as the from a female's perspective on the combat jiu-jitsu? I mean, it's definitely a different. Go ahead. Sorry.
I personally don't want to do combat jiu-jitsu because I don't want to get hit in the face. But to all the women that want to do it, I applaud them. I think it's way more tough and I don't know. I just don't want to get hit. It takes a lot, I think, to go out there and do that as a woman. So I really respect the women that do that. But I mean, the last one that they had, the girl that won with only submissions. I don't think she even threw a single strike. So I mean, you do have to have really good jiu-jitsu to win combat jiu-jitsu, like Jordan was saying too. But I just don't want to get hit.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, and that's another thing is you can tell the ones that are straight jiu-jitsu that haven't done a whole lot of the. I mean, how do you all? Well, Jordan, how do you train? Because a lot of you probably don't. Do you do any of the combat training in the gym or not? You just straight up.
No, so yeah, so I'm the coach at the Grail, so like I pretty much structure all of our training.
Yeah.
The only time my training differs where I'm not like structuring it is whenever I go to Austin like once a week for under my coach Rodrigo, and he does the training or whatever up there. But no, I don't. We don't. I don't incorporate strikes at all. Even when preparing for the combat jiu-jitsu, I think that initially, especially before the first one, there was a thought like, oh man, maybe I should incorporate some strikes, this and that, and you can to be aware of them, like hey, like tap tap tap, in training or whatever. But I think that that's one thing that people focus on too much. They want to change their entire game up and do a completely different sport. I just got to the highest level of the sport in jiu-jitsu, and now I'm going to change everything I do to make room for one event. Whereas, like I say, if you'll just keep it moving and just I don't know, man, just if you have a modicum of knowledge about when you should throw strikes, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm in top mount now, I'm cool to throw, or I'm in I'm on their back now, I could throw I'll give you an example. My second match at the lightweights this past time, I was in the back. I hadn't thrown one strike the whole match. The one strike thrown in that match up to that point was my opponent. I had pulled guard to half guard, and he tried to throw a strike. He gave up the underhook. I took the top. That's what turned it over and got me in top position. So then I take his back, and I'm looking for the choke, and he's got both of his hands on the choke, defending the choke arm. And it occurred to me, just slap him in the face once. If you hit him once in the face, it's gonna, even if he doesn't, you don't think about it, he's gonna take those hands off the choking arm for a second and swat you. And that's what happened. So I already had one that was already under the chin, and I went slap, hit him right in his nose, and he went like this. And as soon as he did, I was already going for the choke and finished the rear naked. So I think strategic strikes are important, but I think that it's a mistake for a person to spend a long time learning to defend strike stuff. I do think it could be a disadvantage if you don't. You should definitely train a lot of no-gi. I'll say that. If you're going into EBI and you're training predominantly gi, you're making a mistake.
And also, too, what's important is you have to remember it is the EBI, so there's EBI overtime. And so Jordan does make us drill a lot of back escapes, armbar escapes, and also back control and the spiderweb control as well. Because that really does, it can make or break a match if you can't do those things.
She's right. That's absolutely essential. If you don't have overtime, and I mean a ton of work in overtime, you're going to it's gonna be like playing chess, and like you're always behind on the clock. Like you have to worry about like if shit goes wrong and you have to defend, and you can't sub the guy in regulation.
Mm-hmm.
They've been practicing every night at escapes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clear difference. Like, and it's not only people make the argument, oh well, you never get awarded that position. Well, it is what it is. Do you want to be a champion or not? Do you want to win or not? And here's the thing, that improves your jiu-jitsu. By me starting on someone's back in the gym over and over again, I improve my attacks on the back. I've seen them improve, and I've seen all my teams improve. And it puts you in one of the worst positions, maybe the worst position in jiu-jitsu on the back, and you learn to escape that.
It makes it a habit, too, because, I mean, as soon as someone's on your back, even in a regular match, we know exactly what to do, and we're out of it and in a better position to improve the match. So
100%. And Eddie Bravo touched on that in the first rules meeting, and it had already made sense to us. I've been doing sub-only invitationals for I can't even remember how long at a high level. So we'd already been working, prior to honored invitationals, sub-onlys I got invited to. We'd already been working in the gym, escape, so that we had that drilled down, because I wanted to get to a point. I want that to be a strong suit for me. So if like, hey, if shit goes wrong, you can't sub somebody, because if someone decides to just defend the whole time, it's very hard to sometimes get a submission off, even if you're a good finisher. And And being able to have that as your fallback and be confident in your escapes and in your ability to submit from the back in good control, it's so key, man, so key. It's improved my jiu-jitsu, and it's improved me in that rule set for sure. So I think if you're going to do, so to summarize, if you're going to do combat jiu-jitsu or you're going to do EBI in general, you need to do overtimes 100%. You need to predominantly train no-gi, and that's it. Just train your ass off, train hard.
Yeah, see, I've been, I want to say, I'm a part-time jiu-jitsu person. I'm like twice, sometimes 3 days a week. If you they do an MMA thing on Friday night, and I'll usually just do that, just if nothing else, just for the cardio side of it. But that's one thing that I want to get better at is on my back. It just seems like it seems like that's the most helpless position you can be in any situation. I mean, even if you're in a fight, if somebody is on top of you, that's agree or disagree. I mean, that's
No, I agree 100%. And that's the thing. That is the hardest thing to do in jiu-jitsu. If I was to give you the hardest thing to do, it would be playing bottom open guard in no-gi, because you don't have the grips of the gi material to help you. A lot of guys you see train just gi, they almost like their guards disappear whenever the no-gi's there, because it's like, I have nothing to hold on to. It's very hectic. The person on top is very fast, can move around quickly, or they could be heavy. And if you don't know how to operate off of your back using your your arms and your legs as frames, it's very, very difficult. Yeah. So, and you have to have some stuff that you've drilled, like a near side underhook or far side underhook, and be able to mix both of them up to get those sweeps off quickly. Whether you're in a fight, whether you're in combat jiu-jitsu, you're only going to get a couple opportunities. And you need to learn to make those happen, how to off balance your partner from bottom, get their hands posting somewhere on you that's not on you, and getting to the top again. So yeah, I think that the bottom is I think playing bottom open guard, and I think passing while standing from the top is the most difficult things to do in jiu-jitsu. Passing a good guard, let me say that. Some people have really bad guards, so it's real easy to just knee slide through them. But passing a really good flexible guy's guard from top is a very difficult task too.
Yeah, I noticed too. There's some with a very tight, tight guard. It's we got a couple guys in our gym that it's like lockjaws getting out of them,
or inverting, or they just invert over and over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's tough. You control the hips.
So, I take it then you mostly train no-gi, or do you 50% it, or?
Yeah. So I used to train all gi up until purple belt, and then I just found out that I was better at no-gi, and I found out there was money in no-gi, and so when I realized that it was more exciting, I was better at it, and I was going to get paid to do it, I started to do only no-gi, and so now we all do only no-gi. I was still teaching some gi classes, but it would become a problem where guys would either not really show up for those classes, and I have a small gym, like I've been blessed with like 60 or 70 students,
Wow.
But it's in a small town. We have the same core group of guys that show up and train hard, and they would either not show up for the class, or some would show up in no gi gear and some in gi gear. And so then I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to teach? Like, this is the techniques I'm teaching today are all, based on the gi, because this is our only day we do gi, and y'all don't have gis on, so I take them off. I guess we're doing no-gi, And so it got to the point where I was like, man, just show up in no-gi. Let's just do no-gi. So on open mat days, like I say, everyone's more welcome to show up whatever they want to train in. But everyone does no-gi. Very few have much of an interest in gi around here. But yeah, I don't discourage it. I think that if they want to do it, they're more than happy to do it. I just don't end up teaching a lot of it. So
yeah, we have gi once a week. The rest of it is all no gi or MMA. So I kind of feel what you're saying there. I don't. I mean, I do train gi, but it's not my favorite thing. And it might be just because I suck at it, but
at a high level now, it's almost split off to where it's two different sports. It's like the gi guys are extremely concerned with lapel guards and lasso guards and wrapping the lapel everywhere, and it's something that doesn't really bode well for no-gi. And then no-gi, they'll be more obsessed with submissions and leg locks and stuff like that. So it's almost like, if you want to excel, I mean, I think back in the day when everyone, 99.9% of schools did gi, first, and then they may do no-gi or not, then yeah, all your no-gi players, your ADCG champions, they trained in the gi. But that was only because you had no sample size of guys like Gordon Ryan who were going to do only no-gi, and that they were just going to meet this upper echelon of no-gi only players. So I think it now, especially nowadays, it's. I've had conversations with other black belts about.
Now, what I was getting ready to say, you'd mentioned Gordon Ryan there. I had his name down here. I mean, who'd have thunk that, he just bought a mansion in Puerto Rico. I mean, who'd have thunk that somebody, Jiu Jitsu of all the sports would take you to a point of being able to have that kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's just. So one thing I have noticed with some of your posts, when this whole pandemic thing started, and I was curious on how that affected your. I know, it was no secret what your feelings were on it, but how did that affect your people showing up to your classes? I mean, did it affect it that much, or were the rest of them kind of with you and?
Well, so it was definitely different because mainly from my perspective, I didn't want to get in trouble and get fines and stuff.
Right.
On the gym, right? So we have a bunch of windows at my school. So basically, I just took some brown tape or paper and just did some painter's paper over it and taped it all up, and I wrote gym clothes on there or something like that. And we have locks on it. So I had a contingency plan if like somebody came knocking, but like I canceled kids classes, but the adults, we came and trained every day. I moved my weights from my parents' house into the gym, and because the gym was closed, and so we could lift weights there. And so we basically just kept our same training regimen, lift in the mornings and train every day at the gym. And you know, thank God, everybody pretty much supported. There was a few people that quit, but like, a lot of the people, even if they didn't come train with us because they were scared of the virus or what have you, they were still gracious enough to continue to pay dues, to keep it afloat.
And what's amazing, and we're still getting new students too, which is even better. So that's
yeah, since the end of the COVID, whatever. The thing is, in Victoria, it's a small town in Texas. We were on lockdown for like 3 weeks. And then everybody was, I mean, everything started kind of coming back. The gym started open again. And, we've kind of done our own thing since then. There have been a couple times where they try to say, oh, well, bars and stuff, and gyms need to close because we're over 15% hospital or something. But the gym that we go to hasn't closed. I haven't even felt the need to retape the windows up. It's like I tell people, I'm not forcing anyone to come to my gym and train. If you feel like, you are sick or you're susceptible or you're concerned about the virus, I'm not holding a gun to your head and saying, hey, you got to show up at my gym and train. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. But also at the same note, I'm not going to your house and telling you to stay at your house. Just let me do my own thing, and you do your own thing, and we'll take mitigated risks, And like I say, we had COVID last year. And maybe it's because we're in good health. I didn't really feel it that much. I had a headache a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
And my back hurt. She lost her sense of smell. I played video games for 2 weeks. I mean, it was a vacation. So it wasn't like, I've had the flu before. I've had food poisoning, much, much worse. And so, it's something that people are going to have to learn to deal with and live with, And I think that for the most part, we've gotten over the scare of the whole thing, especially around my area. And I'm grateful for that. But my heart does go out to all the people out there that have big gyms and businesses that have closed and will never open again, because of a virus that they're going to survive,
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I know that it is for real, and it's a for real risk, to everybody. I mean, and like you say, I think places should be able to have the responsibility, or at least be able to make the effort of controlling it themselves. The businesses, that's just devastating to people. And, it's just, that's,
You can't tell somebody that it's essential businesses only. Everyone's business is essential to them because
yeah,
that feed themselves and their family and everything. And I personally don't want the government to give me money. I didn't get a stimulus check the first time, the second time, the 600. I never got any of those. And I don't. I would not want to be on the government's money line. Where I have to vote for them or that they're taking care of me. I'm fine doing it my own self. And I just I disagree with all that, man. I think that people should be able to take their own risks, and I mean, if we're gonna do that, we might as well just stop driving cars because there's more of a risk that you're gonna get hit in the car. That's what the mayor said, or the Judge Zeller or somebody said, I believe, like a fourth week out when they decided to open the town. They said, the thing is, you have more of a risk of getting in a wreck on Navarro, which is our main street, than you are of dying from coronavirus. It's like, so I mean, you're gonna have to decide what risks you want to take in life, and we take bigger risks than that every single day. And so, God's sovereign, and what's going to happen is going to happen. So you just got to live your life, man.
yeah. My brother-in-law just got over it, actually. Well, he's getting over it. He has MS, and of course that makes you at a higher risk already. And he got pneumonia, went through the whole thing, and I think he's coming out of it not unscathed. Of course, with MS you kind of lose your muscle mass and being on your back and that sort of thing. So, but anyway, that's I didn't want to go too far down that route because there's enough of that political crap that's on all over the TV and internet. But I was just curious on how it affected your gym and in general. So you mentioned something there earlier about wrestling. You actually have a wrestler's build, but you didn't wrestle.
No, I've never wrestled in my life. I didn't. I prefer an Arnold Schwarzenegger body build.
Oh my gosh.
If I wasn't a grappler, I'd be a bodybuilder. But no, I what do you call it? I never wrestled. I never really knew that I was gonna do jiu-jitsu as a career or even like jiu-jitsu. I in high school I played baseball. I played baseball since I was like 3 for a long time, and the little school that I went to for high school at Carroll for the first 3 years, they didn't even have a wrestling program. My senior year, came back here to Victoria, and of course there's a wrestling program, but I'm not gonna, as a senior, gonna enroll in a sport I don't know anything about. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna do that in your 4th year, and I didn't even consider wrestling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I didn't start jiu-jitsu till I was 21, so I didn't know about.
And how old are you now?
I'm 30 now. I'm 30 now. So and I started when I was 21, but then I quit and I had a bunch of problems. So I didn't start seriously training until I was about 24 or so. And what do you call it? I didn't. So yeah, I never wrestled. And we do it once a week. My student, my purple belt Jake, teaches a wrestling class at the Grill, and that's pretty much where I learned my wrestling from. A lot of my takedowns that do happen, if you do see them happen, are counters, or they're like a like a guard pull or something I picked up off jiu-jitsu. And I don't know if it's good or bad, to be honest with you. I think that it'd be great to be able to take people down, and it would be great to be able to wrestle like at a high level that you just really can't catch up to with some of these guys. But at the same time, I know a lot of wrestlers that do train and that have these tendencies that they carry over from wrestling that they just can't shake. And it takes a long time for them to shake it.
Right.
And so I didn't have to deal with those things. And so I don't know if it was good or bad, but I would like to get better takedowns for sure.
Yeah, we actually had that conversation in our gym here the other day because we do have several wrestlers in our, and it seems like, and I know what you're talking about on the tendencies. Like stacking is a good example. That some of our people in our class are wrestlers, and some of the tendencies, it seems like they stack. A lot of them seems to be one of one of the things you're talking about, the tendencies, I guess.
Back, head down, like get caught in chokes. Sometimes they're real defensive and don't want to pass guard too much. They want to stay on their knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain tendencies I see from wrestlers. They're a nightmare of a roll sometimes in competition. When you want to get under their base, it's tough.
Yeah, on the other
But
side of that, like you said, yeah, on the other side of that, though, it's that they've prepared for, they have a different preparedness, I guess is the word. You especially if they've done it since high school. We got
oh,
some high schoolers come in, their legs are like tree trunks, and
yeah.
and but yeah. So I was just curious on that the wrestling thing because yeah. So what's the funny part about that?
Because he's obsessed with himself. No, I'm just
No.
kidding. He works out a lot, and his dad's very proud of how heavy he can lift, and
Yeah, and all that stuff. It's on my
it
dad's
just made me
list.
laugh that you said that.
Yeah.
Well, the wrestlers, they usually have the big calves, the big legs, and
Gabs.
Yeah. So,
and so yeah. Um, so what's coming up for you? There's actually an EBI in March. I don't know if we talked about that or not. Are you?
no, I think that's for bantamweights 135. I think the lowest I could go would be 145. Um, that's really like a hard cut for me to get to 145. And I mean, even at EBI, it's day of. You have about 8 or 9 hours between. It just takes a concerted effort for me to get down. Like that's my optimal weight class. I think God willing, they hold ADCC trials this year at the end of the year. I'm gonna do 145 as well because I'm not tall enough to do 170, and it'll just take a concerted effort for me to get down to that weight. I'll probably have to lose like probably 20 pounds, and be able to compete fresh on that. It ain't like MMA normally where you have 24 hours. You got to be able to feel good at that. So it'll take me probably 3 weeks to a month, eating right, eating clean, not snacking after I train, things like that, and a lot of cardio to get down and to feel good at that weight. So that's probably the thing I dislike most about jiu-jitsu in general is dieting and making weight for competition. I love training. I love lifting. I love lifting weights, lifting heavy. But having to diet and run, I hate that.
Sucks, doesn't it?
It's it's the worst.
Yeah, Nathan Manus, UFC. I had him on several programs ago, and he said he goes on a 1,000-calorie diet
Oh yeah.
to lose
Oh,
weight.
Terrible.
to get to the 45 for you guys last time, normally we'll eat dinner because she makes the meal prep all weekend, and so that works for all week, our lunch and dinner. And I was at super small portions, and then we usually have like a snack after we eat dinner. We watch shows, and I was licking mustard, licking brown mustard just for some taste. 'Cause I didn't know, because when you're cutting like that, you're always hungry, so you're thinking like, man, like, am I gonna make weight? Like, and it's EBI. It's a huge opportunity. It's Eddie Bravo. It's a huge opportunity. That's the reason I took combat. I can't say no. If Eddie calls and says, "Hey, we need you to do 155, deal," even though I know everyone there is gonna be bigger than me, I got to do it. Like that's just like it's my career. There's no reason why I wouldn't do it. So you just have to make the weight. I've never missed weight, and I don't plan on missing weight. Even no matter how much chips and salsa I eat in between competitions.
So what made you choose jiu-jitsu?
I don't know. I really don't know. It was, I went to college. I dropped out. I was locked up for an extended period of time for doing drugs and some other crimes and stuff. And whenever I got out of TDCJ, I was still a blue belt. I hadn't really won anything. I'd never done anything. I just had this belief that I'm gonna be a world champion. That I was gonna do a lot in the sport, and that I could do this. It doesn't, honestly, now looking back, it doesn't make any sense, to be honest with you, that I thought I was going to be so good at jiu-jitsu because there was no outward evidence that I was going to be anything at jiu-jitsu. Like I said, I never won a gold medal, and I'd never really done anything. and I didn't have a job or any acquired skills. So I got out and started training. Like I say, as much as I could while going through like outpatient like rehab integration programs through probation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got blessed. God moved things around. He moved the old coach I had out of town. He ended up letting me run the gym, and then I ended up splitting, and I owned the gym, and then people came to me and they started learning, and then the little opportunities that I had here and there to buy DVDs from BJJ Fanatics and to study tape, I just got absorbed myself with it, knowing that like I burned all my other ships. This is the only one I got, and I got to make this shit sail. So, I got blessed with like a lot of opportunities that God put me in, and I just kind of walked through the doors that He opened, and just worked my ass off, every day to try to be ready for those moments and those opportunities, and the better guys to train with,
Mm-hmm.
and go wherever whatever it took, man, to get my jiu-jitsu to the place that it needed to be, to not be a burden, and to go ahead and make something of myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it all has to boil down to God, because I didn't, like I say, if I look back on it in retrospect, I couldn't tell you how I was ever even going to own a gym in this small town where I was pretty much one of maybe 100 or so people that did jiu-jitsu. I wasn't particularly special at it. I didn't have, there's a couple people said I was talented here and there, but everyone gives you compliments.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know shit about jiu-jitsu, and even now I don't think I know anything about jiu-jitsu. I'll sit there and think about it, and I'll look. It's a Dunning-Kruger effect where you look back at it, and if you're brand new to something, you think you're really good at it. You overestimate your skills. When you got a little knowledge, you have the most sober expectation of yourself and of what you're capable of, and of what there's left to learn. But when you're a master, you start to think everything's simple. Everyone understands everything, and you almost get to the end of it, and you're like, man, I don't know anything. I still study tape and look at it, and I'm like, man, I'm not doing this. I didn't see how much easier I could make it if I just brought my elbow here. And so I guess just obsession and God, being His providence.
I really think that after I started late, obviously I'm 49, almost 50, and I don't know how I would have done without it now on certain aspects. It's a kind of a I don't know. It's just it's hard to explain to somebody that doesn't do it, the difference, being part of a team, producing failures, so I think if they offered it in school more as part of physical education or something or other in schools, that in a alternative to wrestling, even something or other, just to help develop people, the discipline, the respect, just so many different things that you learn.
Man, the fraternity, the social aspect of it, the trying and failing and dusting yourself off, getting back up, continuing to train, push through adversity every day. I think it's great, man. And for people that don't necessarily want to be a world champion, which is 99.9% of the team and the gym, they're still helping the guys that do. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with just wanting to train to train. It's great,
Just the discipline, there's so many aspects that go into it.
Yeah, I love it.
So, all right, guys. Well, I do appreciate you all coming on the program, and but one thing I hadn't asked, Alana, what is it like having Jordan as a coach and a husband?
Best experience
It
ever.
sucks. No, I'm just kidding. Really the best. Unfortunately, he is hard on me, and he pushes me a lot harder, and sometimes I don't take it very well, but it's really helped me grow as a grappler, and it's really helped me grow as a person as well, because he doesn't let me get my way all the time. But as far as my jiu-jitsu, it's really skyrocketed since I've met Jordan, and that's because he's really taken the time to show me the right techniques and everything. So
So did
I like it.
So you met? Did you meet through this then? Did you meet
Yeah. Mhm.
through Jordan's gym, or was it a different? Was you all? How long have you all been together?
We met at a tournament. We've been together for about like 3-4 years, but we've been married for about a little over 1 year now.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, but it definitely helps how we both do the same thing. You know, finding someone that has a similar schedule is definitely key when you're doing jiu-jitsu.
My schedule is basically lift weights and then play video games all day and then train with her and train and teach my classes.
Yeah.
And her schedule is, she works all day, so
I lift weights with him in the morning, and then I go to work, and then we do jiu-jitsu at night, and then we watch TV, and then we do it again.
Yeah.
So you make any money playing games?
Not much. Not as much as I want to. But I'm making, the first time I Facebook streamed last month, I made about almost $200.
Wow.
And yeah, so just streaming, and I mean, I was gonna do it anyway, right? So, so yeah, usually during the day I'll either stream or I'll play chess or read some theology books or something, or take a nap, and then wait till training at night. And that every day, like doing the same thing over and over, discipline, you get somewhere down the road. You know what I mean? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again. So
yeah, I'm getting ready to get I'm trying to get a Xbox Series X right now, so I can get back into gaming. I don't do the computer game, and my son does. He calls it his build, you know. But yeah, he's making a little bit of money. He talks about some of the money he makes on it. He's been doing it for several years now, so.
nice.
But anyway, guys, I appreciate you taking the time and sit down and talk. It's very interesting to see. You know, whenever I first I saw you first, Jordan, and whenever I'd kind of put the two of you together, it's like, man, that's pretty cool, husband and wife doing. Just curious on how that worked out, and then of course you both are, as I'd mentioned, world class jiu-jitsu. Even though you do the combat and she does, the third coast grapple. Now, Jordan, do you do third coast as well, or do you just primarily?
Yeah, no, I'm the champion in 145 and 155 pounds in third coast as well.
Awesome. Okay.
So yeah, I do. I like I said, I do mainly just jiu-jitsu, but Eddie runs the combat jiu-jitsu, and
Yeah.
if it makes money, it makes sense.
Right.
And, if it makes sense for the career, then it makes sense. So I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
It has to do the rash guard and grappling. I'm down.
Well, congratulations to you guys on all of your successes with jiu-jitsu. It's good to see you doing what you want to do, and having fun doing it, and at the same time growing. So I do appreciate you coming on and agreeing to doing an interview. And like I said, I will have it. I'll get it all doctored up and edited and put into a YouTube form. So if you want to share it out, you're more than welcome to.
So, I appreciate it. We can think of you for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Y'all have a great evening, and have a great week.
All right, man. God bless. Later.
Yep, same to you. All right, guys. So there you have it. Jordan, Alana, Holly. If you watch Jiu-Jitsu, you will see them, I'm sure, on the streams and on TV. If you got UFC Fight Pass, they show up on there. So want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Those who did, I realize most of you are probably watching the football games, and that's cool. Looks like the final is the Buccaneers 31-26 against the Green Bay Packers. So looks like Tom Brady will be going to another Super Bowl. And next week we have PJ Farley in the house. Those you don't know who PJ Farley is, he is the bassist for Trickster, Quarantine, and the band Raw. So look forward to talking to PJ about all of his projects, and especially he has a new solo album out. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Maybe we'll play a little bit of it for everybody. Other than that, let's call it a wrap. once again, appreciate everybody's support that tuned in. And let's see here. Okay, there we go. Anyway, hope everybody has a great week and stay safe. Peace out. See you next Sunday, 6 p.m. Peace out, everybody.